Hi, my name's Nina and welcome again to my channel. I wanted to share the results from the Western Dressage virtual show. It was the Spring Showers Braganza, the first virtual show I've ever done. So I was really excited when I got the results back just today and I had to film a video for it. I had seen already online that my score was the best that I've ever gotten so far at 72.963%. I am keeping in mind that the scores could be as good as they were because we were home. You know, you don't have all the factors from being at an actual show, hauling out, this is our home turf kind of thing, just all of that. So I am keeping that in mind, but I am pretty happy with 72%, 72.9%. It placed us second. I think it was a class of like 8 to 11 or something. I can't remember. I'd have to exactly go look again. But I thought that I would share the results with you and some of the clips so that you can see how the judge marked that. And so the first part is, this was level 1, test 1 for WDAA. And this was the first year that we are doing the level 1 tests. We've been practicing the level 1 movements most of the winter. So, of course, you enter working jog, halt at X, proceed working jog, and we received an 8. I was really pleased with a lot of these 8 or even better because most of the time I don't receive scores quite that good. I'm usually like 6 to 7.5 being best, and there are a couple that are low here, but across the board I got quite a few 8s and I was really happy with that. So first we enter working jog at A, at X, halt, salute. She gave us an 8 with the remarks, fairly straight and smooth, square halt, prompt step off. And I practice quite a bit on center line and being straight and obviously square halts. So I'm very pleased when those types of things come through on the scores. So we then track left, working jog, that was scored an 8, no remarks. Half circle left, 15 meters, leg yield right, quarter line to M. So the leg yield is a new, it's a new component, new requirement, being in level 1, and it's something that Milo knows how to do, but being judged particularly on the quality of a leg yield has been a different thing for us. So we've been schooling it. She scored us a 5 and it's a coefficient of 2 for a total of 10. And her remarks were need clear crossing and leg yield, lateral movement, too much bend of neck. This is something that we struggle with to get a really concise, like he travels that way, but he's not like diagonally paired super well. So that's been something we've been working on. Our next movement is the working lope, left lead, and it comes right after that leg yield. We got an 8 for it. She said balanced and supple, which is really pleased with. Also going into the next movement, circle left 20 meters, working lope, a 7, and it just commented need balance in corner after C. 2 things I want to say here. I'm really happy with him on the lope departure and the clarity and the quality of it. That's been something that we've really been working on to get his weight further back onto his haunches and really driving and holding himself. So I'm really happy that was scored that way and it was reflected because it's something we've been working a lot on. And also saying need balance in the corner. I'm not going to give excuses on this. However, the arena at the time was really soupy on that end. So the whole side of the arena, that whole edge where we were doing lope maneuvers, was difficult for him to stay balanced because the footing wasn't very well. So I'm pretty happy with a 7 remark for that, even with knowing how he was. We come across the diagonal and change rein HXF, and then proceed working jog. And they're judging on the straightness of the diagonal bend, balance, and corners. and the quality of the jog thereafter. It was scored a 7.5. She said straight on diagonal, fairly balanced in transition. Again, another thing that I'm quite pleased with, because as I commented before, for Milo, coming across the diagonal, being a reining horse and being schooled in ranch riding and a lot of varying events, often I will work lead changes across the diagonal because it gives me quite a bit of space. And that wasn't any different for him in this test and in schooling the diagonal transition. He often thinks that we're going to do a lead change, so it's really hard to have bend to the left, straightness, downward transition, and then bend to the right, because my cueing often is asking him essentially for a lead change. He has to respond to my seat aid to come back and downward transition. So 7.5 I was quite pleased with there. Next is XFAK Working Jog, 7.5, no remarks. Next, Working Jog at K, comments, willing smooth transition, that's what they're looking for, another 7.5 with no additional comments. Halfway through here, V to M is a free walk. They're looking for the horse to willingly and freely stretch the neck forward and down, relaxation, swing through the back. It also has a coefficient of 2, and we had a 7.5, so happy with that. Total score 15 on that. Her comments were to allow for additional freedom for forward stretch, supple over top line, and shows ground cover. I'm thinking that that's what she's saying. She's saying is that he's supple over the top line and showing ground cover, which is great. That's another one. I've been told in the free walk that's kind of an important factor to show that your horse throughout the test is still forward and reaching and isn't getting behind the bit and is still engaged. And often they have that midway through the test, to my knowledge, because it allows the horse that mental break and the stretch before they go and do all of the maneuvers or the movements in the other direction. And they add the coefficient there to ensure that the horse is reaching for the bit and staying connected halfway through. And the coefficients, what I've been told, they're there to show kind of benchmarks of the level of the test and something that they find really important for your horse to do well before moving on. So for example, the coefficients are on both leg yields, each direction, and the free walk. And the first one, leg yield, was a 5. The next one that I'm going to get to is a 7. But here, this coefficient's a 7.5. So that's a good thing to use to gauge if you're ready to move on or not. Next is the working jog, and at SI, half circle left, IR, circle right. That was another maneuver that we practiced quite a bit, because that 10-meter circles are quite small, and that's a new, what do they call it, a new requirement for level 1. So that was something we worked on a lot, and it came through because we got an 8. Her comments were supple and balanced. Next is the half circle right leg yield. We were scored a 7. Coefficient makes it 14. She says better this direction, balance in half circle, and fairly fluid leg yield with slight right bend. So I'm pleased with that. He's definitely stronger one side to the other, and I'm glad that she was able to appreciate and see the quality of the better side. Next we go into the working lope. The departure got a 7.5. The 20-meter circle was an 8. Balanced and engaged. This I am thrilled about, because most of last year doing basic level, I got a lot of comments that said downhill in lope or downhill in transition needs balance. A lot of things encompassing around the lope. And Milo is a downhill built horse. He's actually 15.3 at his wither and 16 hands on his hip. So being downhill is natural for him. So I'm really pleased to see that our work this winter has come through in the lope, because it's been something that I've really been focusing on. And all of those comments that I got last year about the quality of the lope was really making me concerned about whether or not I should actually move forward into level 1 or not. So I'm really happy to see that what we've been working on is coming through. Trying to get through here, at the lope we do a change of rein. and that one had a really poor quality downward transition. It was scored a 6. She said early transition, irregular stride. He got a little excited in that one, and he wasn't wanting to come back into the downward transition and then maintain the new bend. So that's totally understandable. XKAF, working jog, 7. She commented, curling, correct bend, good geometry. So in the curling, I'm assuming that that's coming through from the neck. I am going to have to research that terminology a little bit. You just have to remember that dressage isn't exactly my first equine language. I don't have a lot of any formal training in it. So this is all kind of what I've learned from my own video watching and education. But I appreciate correct bend and the good geometry. I focus really hard on my geometry, so I'm always very pleased to see when it's commented that it's recognized. Lengthen stride, F to S, and then working jog at S, continue down the rail, working jog. All of that was scored a 7.5. Free lengthening, good balance. So again, that's another one I'm pleased with because this is a I think this is a new, they don't have it listed in the new requirement. I don't remember really having to do an extension of the jog, or it says lengthen stride in jog. He loves doing that in ranch riding. In dressage, I just try and make sure that the tempo doesn't change. So I was pleased that that earned a 7.5. Moving on, B to X is a half circle right 10 meter that gets you back on the center line to end, and then halt at I, back 4 to 6 steps, proceed working jog. All of that scored together with an 8. Another one I'm really happy with because those 10 meter circles are something that we've been schooling all winter because they're so tight. And then halt, of course, I'm always schooling the halt for a nice square. And the back, I was really schooling that once we back up, he's ready to spring back forward. Because in reining, so much of his life, it was stop and back, and then you stay there. So I've really been emphasizing schooling him on a prompt and diagonal back up, but also forward off the leg. Her comment was balanced and fluid, which I'm very happy with. Final halt at G, halt salute, scored a 6.5. She said stepped back at halt, straight, but need to be immobile. And I think she's saying that because he halted and then he stepped back. And then as the camera comes around, you can clearly see that that front leg is further back. So that totally earned a 6.5 there. Finally, for the final collective remarks, I will just read that to you. I was really pleased with them. For the gaits, they're looking for freedom and regularity, elasticity in the steps. 7.5, her comments, good regularity, be careful of curling. So again, in the gaits and in the curling comment, I'm going to have to go and research if that means that his neck is getting a little bit curled behind. Perhaps the pole's not straight, but a 7.5 is really good. Impulsion. This one was an 8, and I'm pleased with that. Impulsion is engagement, transmission in an eager and energetic yet controlled positive forward energy. It kind of goes on from there, suppleness through the back. That's something I've really schooled with Milo. He's a Western pleasure halter bred horse. He instinctually does not want to be forward of my leg. So when I get him there, I'm always really happy with that. And she scored an 8. She said good energy and suppleness. So that's something that makes me feel really proud of, because again, it's a shortcoming that we've had to work through. Rider's position, seat and hands, well-balanced elastic seat demonstrating vertical centered alignment. She scored an 8. No comments. That's good. At least she thinks that I'm a well-balanced rider, scoring an 8. Rider's correct and effective use of the aids. Evidence of the horse's responsiveness, steady elastic connection, accuracy, precise placement of the figures, again, geometry. Effectiveness of the rider's aids, that was a 7.5. No comments. So again, I'm happy that that is recognized. Harmony. The horse accepts the aids and influence of the rider with attention, relaxation, and confidence, and demonstrates a willing partnership between horse and rider, resulting in a free-flowing performance. Harmony is really emphasized, particularly in Western dressage, I found. That was scored a 7.5 and has a coefficient of 2. So they really emphasize the importance of the harmony between horse and rider. So that was a total of 15. She said, free-flowing performance, need clearer leg yields. And obviously she commented that earlier And that's definitely something that I know we need to continue working on. A total score of 197. Maximum point here is 270, so 72%. Her final remarks: a very nice horse and accomplished rider. She says work on pole to tail alignment and lateral movement and leg yield. Okay. You are precise in your figures and ready to move to the next level if you like. Good ride. So that makes me really happy because this was the first time doing level 1, test 1, moving up from basic, and it was a really great starting point for the year. I'm going to do one more level 1 test virtual. They have it open again this month with the WDAA recognized. And then hopefully by the end of the month, I'm going to continue schooling some of the level 2 movements and be able to submit a level 2 test. Thank you so much for following along in this video and allowing me to share my scores and my thoughts with my test with Milo with you guys. I hope that it gleans some useful information for you as well for your own horses, whether you're doing dressage or not. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and you'll never miss a notification. I'm going to be doing more virtual shows in Western dressage and possibly in reining with whiskey, so you won't want to miss that at all.